Good evening, Baruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored by Chaim and Bracha, and Hashem should help that him and his family should have nachat and Shana Tova and everything good in their lives. La'ad, la'ad, amen, v'amen. Amen. Chaim and Stella, sorry. Yeah, our last Thursday night before Shaatnez. So first I want to make a technical announcement. Saturday night we have shiur over here in the basement, I think, at 11:30 p.m. with Hatarat Nidarim afterwards at about 12:20 or so, and then followed by Slichot at about 12:30. The night before Shaatnez, we do that every year. So 11:30 p.m. Saturday night. Take a nice nap in the afternoon, come with a lot of energy, and you'll come in rejuvenated to Rosh Hashanah. For those who won't be here Saturday night, we'll repeat this Bli Neder on Saturday night as well. There's a Midrash. Zgulot, a lot of times I make fun of, but especially when they have no source. But sometimes when Chazal says Zgula, if it's a Gemara or Midrash or Zohar or something like that, so then it's a different story. And there's a Midrash that says a mashal, a parable, and we've said it in the past, so we won't go through all the details, but roughly, that there was a town that owed the king a lot of money. And the king said he's coming to collect, he's coming to visit. And they were scared, what's going to be? And the Midrash explains what they did to calm him down. They sent a group, to meet him on the highway and to give him honor and that. And he said, you know what? You like me so much, I'll forgive you for a third of the loan. And then as he came to the entrance of the town, he saw the greeting that he got. He forgave another third until at the end he forgave the whole thing and didn't have to pay him a penny. That's a very watered down version of what the Midrash says. The Midrash concludes, and that's the part that I wanted to say, that so too, when it comes to Erev Rosh Hashanah, a person comes to God and the situation's not always the best. And a person on Erev Rosh Hashanah can acquire a third, and there's a different girsah that I found recently in a different Midrash that says even 100%, but definitely a third of his sins forgiven. And how do you do that? So the Midrash says that when Yisrael fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah, God forgives them on a third of their sins. Now, why, I don't know, but for some reason in the Sephardic Jewry they were less accustomed with this. The Olam HaYeshivot always did it. But this is not a Sgula from a Sgula book. This is a Midrash itself saying so. Now it's brought down in the Poskim, that being that we're a weak generation, and if people are going to fast their Rosh Hashanah, so it could be they'll come to Rosh Hashanah at night in Shul, they won't be able to pray and that, so it won't be worth it. So the Poskim bring down, and it seems like there's a very large amount of Poskim that agree to this, that even if you only fast till Chatzot, that's about 12:50 or so, I guess, on Erev Rosh Hashanah, that's also considered fasting. And I'll tell you that in the Bnei Yeshivot and in most of the Ashkenaz communities around the world, they were always very makpid on this, very, very makpid on this. So it's a good eitzah, it's a good thing to do. And most days we don't eat till lunchtime anyway, so it's not like it's so hard either. And you have a midrash, after 120 you can come to God and say, you wrote in your Torah that you erased a third of my sins. So right then and there, it might be worth it. I think it's a good investment. Sunday, Erev Rosh Hashanah. I think it might be a good investment. That's that. And now for what we want to talk about tonight. So we spoke in the last 2 weeks about the importance of identifying and understanding and seeing how much Borei Olam loves us and how much He accepts us, even if our situation spiritually is far from the way it should be. And we brought a lot of proofs to it from different Ma'amarei Chazal, which I think was a very, very important message. But obviously, everything has an agenda. We were going somewhere with this. It wasn't just to stroke our egos, because they're big enough without it, I hope. So where are we going with this? And that's why I said tonight's class is part 3. This is really where I was going with it. So I want to begin by saying over a story. It's in the Sefer Makor Mayim Chaim. And again, I stress this. A lot of these sources come from the same Sefer Mekavan Torah that I've been using in the past 2 weeks. He brings down from the Sefer Makor Mayim Chaim Parshat Doshim, the 12th letter, just for those who look up the sources. Shamati Mesaprim B'Shem Harav Miskver, the previous Skver Rebbe, that he said in the name of the Chernobyl Rebbe. Kids, so they have all the way a thing until the days of the Baal Shem Tov. That what? By the Baal Shem Tov's shul, I guess, or whatever it was, they brought a guest speaker. A lot of places do that. It's a common thing. It was done then already. And this person got up, and he gave this firing speech, but he really bashed everybody. Well, look at your situation, look what you're doing, look at your averot, look at this, look at that. He gave him a hard time in simple English. Some people would mistake that with the word called mussar. That's not mussar. That's just being a pessimist, being a negative person. And one of the greatest Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh Tzachto Yagen Aleinu was named David, and he was there, and he heard this man speaking. And in the middle of the speech, he went up to the stage, and he pushed him off the stage. He told him, you can't continue speaking, go on, get out of here. Baal Shem Tov's shul, to embarrass somebody, to push him off the stage, that's not acceptable. But this was an Adam Gadol, this is a great man, and if he did it, there must have been a reason. So what happened was, they right away, the Baal Shem Tov went to him and said, why'd you do it? He said, obviously you did it for a reason. Why'd you do it? So he answered the Baal Shem Tov 4 words, Shediber Gnut al Yisrael, because he spoke bad about the Jewish nation. That's all, that's the reason why I did it. So the Baal Shem Tov told him like this, I agree with you, but I want to put it into context and explain it, and explain you what you did without even realizing. So he said, what? The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh told him like this. There's a pasuk in Mishlei Perek Gimel that says, I think it's pasuk Yud Aleph, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Mussar Hashem b'ni al tim'as. When the Olam comes to Am Yisrael and says, Mussar Hashem, the mussar that I give you, b'ni, my child, al tim'as, don't get disgusted with it. Don't throw it away in simple English. What does that mean? Comes the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh and says, simply we understand the pasuk to mean that God says, yeah, sometimes I got to deal with you with a little bit of a strong hand, but it's coming out of love, so accept it with love. Baal Shem Tov says no. The pasuk is saying something else completely. The pasuk, you have to add a comma into it. It says, Mussar Hashem. Sometimes there's a situation in life where we do have to get a wake-up call, and somebody does have to say, hey, this is not going to work, because this is not what Hashem allows. But the only way a person is allowed to say it is if, first of all, B'ni, he views every Jew as his own child, and he loves them like a father should love a child, and Al Timas, he's not going to cause the Jews listening to the Mussar to resent Judaism. Unbelievable. Pshat. Comes the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh and says, that's why I agree with you. I don't agree with you that nobody could say anything. Sometimes you do have to say certain things. But if a person says something in a way that causes the Ka'al either to give up or to resent or to be scared or whatever, that defeated the whole purpose. So Mussar Hashem, he came to give Mussar, but he didn't give over Mussar Hashem. He gave over his own Mussar, his own personal issues. How do you know when a person's giving a Mussar that's a real Mussar? B'ni, if he views every Jew as his own child, al timas, and he doesn't cause any resentment or any hate or anything. Unbelievable thing. I think years ago I said over a story from that I heard from a Rebbe in Muncie named, he calls himself, that's why I'm calling him that way, Simi Singer, who said over that when he was a young boy, he learned in the yeshiva, and his Magid Shiur in one of the grades, I don't remember which grade it was, but I think 9th, because whatever, based on when the rabbi taught, I'm assuming it was 9th grade, because then he used to teach 9th grade. He had the schut to learn by a rabbi named Rabbi Mordechai Schwab, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. And Mordechai Schwab, his brother, I'm sure everybody knew better, because he lived closer, was Rav Shimon Schwab in Washington Heights. And Mordechai Schwab was an Adam Gadol, and Adam, who am I to say Adam Gadol, but a giant of the giants. Besides where he learned by Baruch Ber and so on, he testified about himself towards the end of his life in a very awkward situation. He was once sitting by the Shabbat table, and his kids were talking about some Israeli politics. But not politics of the prime minister, this, that, all that garbage. The politics of the yeshivot, that this yeshiva doesn't get along with this one, whatever, some issue that was going on. And he got up from the table and he left. He didn't say anything, he left. It was the middle of the meal. They thought maybe he went to take care of personal needs, but 5 minutes went by, he didn't come back. His kids got scared, he was an older man. They went to see what's going on. So they saw him sitting in his study, like closed the door, he was crying. And they told him, Dad, what happened? And it's Shabbat, you know, they cry, oh, what's going on? So he told them back like this, that when I was 13 or 14, I think he said, I saw the Chafetz Chaim. I think he said 13. And I only saw him once, for one Shabbat, one weekend. And that day I took upon myself that I'll never in my life will I speak Lashon Hara or hear Lashon Hara. And my entire life I stuck to it. And tonight you guys almost made me ruin it. That's why I left. How many people alive could say that from Shabbat to Saturday night they didn't speak Lashon Hara? That would be good news. That would be amazing news, actually, not just good news. Unbelievable thing. Unbelievable thing. By the way, Rabbi Schwab, I had the zchut to grow up in this. We shared houses. So until I was 12, I used to see him on a daily basis, many times a day. And once he told me, I'm sure if somebody looked hard enough, they would find it inside as well, but I never, I guess, made enough effort, that it's brought down in the writings of the Gaon Mivilna, that really, if you look in the Sfarim HaKadoshim, when people do certain sins, or most sins, then you have to fast, if this, the process of teshuva is very, very hard and complicated. He says, the Gaon Mivilna says that if that's the case, nobody's going to ever do teshuva, it's not going to work. So the Gaon Mivilna says if a person takes upon himself that for 1 hour he's not going to talk, or at least not talk nonsense, then that's worth more than all the fasts. And he gives advice that on Rosh Hashanah Kippur a person should take upon himself that even if he can't do Tanit Dibur the whole time, but let's say 9 to 10 in the morning, in 1 hour he's going to be quiet. Anyway, you're in shul. So, and anyway to talk in shul, Chazal say, Gadol avono minso, it's a terrible sin. So 1 hour, be quiet, no, they won't kill you. Not the end of the world. And he says he told me in the name of the Gra, and he says it's written in the Gra, Kitvei Gra, that brings a big kaparat avanot for a person to on a very big level. So here you got another trick, how to expedite a good year for yourself. And believe it or not, it sounds like, well, what's the big deal? So I won't talk for an hour. When you'll decide that from 11 to 12 you're not talking, you'll see how at 11 to 12 is going to be the hardest hour of your life. Because Hashem's going to give you all the reasons that hour to talk. It's always like that. It's like Murphy's Law of some sort. But it really is. It's an unbelievable thing. It's an unbelievable thing. But that's what it says from the Gaon. But anyway, so we see over here the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh writes, Altimas, even if you have to give over mussar, it has to be in a way that Klal Yisrael should be willing to accept it. I don't give mussar because I'm not a tzaddik. One day I hope to be a tzaddik, but until then, definitely it's not an option. So I can't even fit into the mussar Hashem part. I'm not holding there yet. But I can give over a little bit from what I heard and saw over the years from the tzaddikim and the Sfarim HaKadoshim of things that maybe apply to us and we should take into our lives. Rabbeinu Ari in 2 different places brings down 2 things that are the same idea, but each time he says it in a different way. One time the Ari says that Aseret Yimei Teshuva, right, is 10 days, but out of the 10 days, 2 days is Rosh Hashanah, 1 day is Kippur, so it's really 7 days in the middle. He says the 7 days of in the middle of Aseret Yimei Teshuva, every day, if a person behaves himself and keeps Torah mitzvot the right way, it's mechaper for that day of the week for the entire year. So like Sunday for all the Sundays of the year, Monday for all the Mondays of the year, and so on. That's one place. That's very known, and that's the explanation why in Halakha it says even if somebody doesn't keep certain things during the year, and Aseret Yimei Teshuva, he should be more careful, and so on, because there's a certain power in those days. But there's another place that the Ari writes the same exact idea, but in a different way. He writes it about the 7 days before Rosh Hashanah. He says the last 7 days of the year, which we're already unfortunately through most of them. Well, fortunately that we're alive to say the story, but unfortunately that we, if we didn't know this before, we might have lost a good opportunity. But the biggest day that has the most room for error is Shabbat. So at least we're before the last Shabbat of the year. So the last Shabbat of the year has it in the power to rectify all the Shabbatot of all the year. So therefore, Chacham Minav V'Rosheh, a person should be smart, and even though normally we have a custom that most of Klal Yisrael unfortunately keeps, that if Shabbat comes in at 7:15, then we're ready at 7:30. If Shabbat comes in at 4:15, we're ready at 4:30. At 8:15, at 8:30. And believe it or not, I have friends that live in like United Kingdom and other places where the time is even later. They tell me if it's 10 o'clock at night, 10:15. For some reason, it doesn't make a difference when Shabbat comes in. We always have to be 15 minutes late. But at least for this Shabbat, the next Shabbat, to show God that Shabbat's worth something to us, to be ready a few minutes before, and not to come in with a total chaos and a total It's it would rectify all the Shabbatot of the year. Second of all, the Gaon brings down Bekoshi Tiru Lomar Shabbat Shalom B'Shabbat. Shabbat's a very holy day. This is Bekoshi, barely we agree that a person should even say Shabbat Shalom to his friend on Shabbat. Definitely not to sit and talk all the nonsense of the world. So I know on a regular Shabbat, of course, we're bored and this and that, so I'm not saying it's right, it's wrong up Yalacha, but we sit and talk about all different things with the disguise of owning Shabbat. But on this Shabbat, if we could utilize the time a little wiser, it wouldn't be a bad idea. If on a regular Shabbat you read one Perek Tehillim, so this time read 10. Keep yourself busy with a few good things. Go to an extra shiur. I'm spending the last Shabbat of the year, my favorite place to spend it other than Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh, right here in this room. Yeah, it's a good way. Like this, when the bosses come and say, well, you don't come enough weekends during the year, I tell them at least the last Shabbat of the year I was here. It's v'chaper and all the Shabbatot that I wasn't. And but it's good. It's a good chizuk. It's important. It's very important. And the same thing goes in everything. Person doesn't dress the right way. So the last Shabbat of the year, dress the way Hashem wants you to dress. This, that, everything. And if we're talking about dress, I want to say another ha'ara that it's brought down in a lot of Sifrei Kabbalah, but really it's brought down the poskim as well in halacha. If a person wears Shaatnez, then his prayers are not accepted for 40 days. Why? I don't know. I know, I don't know Kabbalah. I don't know how to explain this to you. But that's what's brought down many, many places. I'm sure many of you went to buy new clothes for Rosh Hashanah, which is a beautiful thing, and why not? Yom Tov, even though it's Yom Adin, it's still Yom Tov. But if you didn't get it checked for Shaatnez, I don't care if the store owner told you it has no Shaatnez. That's nonsense. If you bought a suit and you didn't get it checked for Shaatnez, don't wear it on Rosh Hashanah. Because if there's a 1 in a million chance that it has Shaatnez in it, then you're going to go praying for 2 days in shul and nothing, you wasted your time. It's silly. It's a stupid mistake to make. So make sure, especially men's jackets, blazers, whatever, and certain designers, especially the fancier ones, if you go to get it checked and they tell you it doesn't have Shaatnez, then go back to the store and return it because you know it's fake. Because all the high-end designers put Shaatnez in the collars of men's suits. That's the way they're made. And recently, another high-end designer started putting in the pants too. Brioni, all Brioni pants have Shaatnez, and there's almost no way to get it out. So I think as Orthodox Jews, Brioni's off our list. It's probably a waste of money anyway. But, it is kind of crazy to buy a pair of pants for the amount of money that you can support 10 families for Yom Tov with. But, okay, some people do that. Some people do that. But this is not my business. But I'm just telling you on the aloha end part of it, there's a serious problem with Shaatnez, and we have to think about it. And one of the less common things that people are aware of, I think the basics of jackets and that, we know that have to be checked. One of the things that people don't realize is today, not only today, for years already, but recently became more popular because of styles, they make ties not out of silk. They make ties out of wool. It's supposed to be cool. It's a matter of taste. My taste happens to be ugly, but it's supposed to be cool. And I found, I don't know how to check for Shaatnez, but my friends that deal with this showed me recently many ties of many companies that are wool made, that the stitching is all linen. So here a person went and got his jacket checked, in the best Shaatnez place and did everything right, and he's wearing a tie that's Shaatnez. It's a silly mistake. You need awareness for this. You have to learn a little bit about the idea. In women's clothes also, there's a lot of times things like that. And it goes so far that even if you bought 2 suits of the same company, same size, same design, same everything, they both have to be checked. Because guys that are in the field that know this well, I don't know it. Again, I'm quoting people that I trust that really know this, told me that they had situations with 2 suits from the same store, same brand, same everything. One had Shaatnez, one didn't. Why? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I thought they were made on manufacturing assembly lines and everything is just whatever. I guess not. And especially in the high-end clothes, there's a lot more problems than that. So we have to be very careful. Shona shouldn't be, you come to shul and you're wearing Shaatnez, well, what'd you gain? You got to be very careful. This year, it seems like it's hot weather, so coats is not a subject, but in other years, we have to talk about coats also. Coats is very common to have Shaatnez in them. All coats, men, women, kids. So unless you know what you're wearing and you know enough about textiles to know how to differentiate, so pay the $5 and get it checked. No, Hashem's worth $5. It's not going to kill you. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. One boy told me the other day he doesn't want to get his suit checked because they're going to take the collar out and it's going to ruin his suit. I told him I agree with you 100%, but your collar is going to ruin your prayer. So now pick which one you want ruined first. Like, you gotta, it's a priority check. But anyway, going back to Rav Schwab, so this Jew, Simi Singh, said over by his shiva, and he passed away by his shiva. Simi was very close to him. He said he learned by him, I think it was 9th grade. And one day he misbehaved in class. Rav Schwab told him nicely, stop. The next day got even worse, Kids, he said it about himself. I'm not, God forbid, knocking Simi Singh. He's a tzaddik, and today, Alavai, which I'm more mechanchim like him, he's done amazing things. He was my Rebbe once. He taught me. I have only good memories of that year. But, amazing memories. So I think, again, I'm basing this off of my memory when I was 16 or whatever I was when Rav Schwab passed away, 15, I don't remember exactly. But I think the way he said it over is that like the 3rd or 4th day, Rav Schwab told him that after class he wants to talk to him privately. Okay, so the kid came in privately. He knew he was in trouble. He knew what he was up to. Maybe it wasn't about him, it was about a friend, but whatever it was. And Rav Schwab went over to him and told him like this, really, you're causing a ruckus. And really, it's causing a lot of damage in the class. And really, it's just wrong. And al pi halacha, I have to teach you a lesson. And the lesson is that I have to hit you. Obviously, today you're not allowed to say that word, because today it's really wrong, and it's both against halacha and illegal. But in the olden days, there was such a system in chinuch. And then Rav Schwab took his hand, and he thought that he was going to slap him. And he burst out crying into bitter tears. And he said, but how can a Jew hurt another Jew? Like this, he held his hand for 20 minutes, and he said, I can't do it, I'm sorry. So you'll forgive me for not disciplining you, and go home. And he says, you can imagine I never misbehaved again in my life, in any class ever. How could a Jew hit another Jew? That's mussar Hashem bini al timas. What's a bigger mussar? If he would have yelled at him and told him, what are you doing? Or that he saw an Adam Gadol, who then probably was already in his 60s, at least if not older, cry for 20 minutes. How can I go and cause you pain? It's impossible. It's not going to happen. Which way do you think he got a bigger mussar? Which way do you think he got a bigger wake-up call in life? So we have to go into Rosh Hashanah with that attitude. We have to go into Rosh Hashanah with that attitude. We really do. Because if we go into Rosh Hashanah with all the hits that we have this year, and everybody had their own suffering, each one in his way, then it's bad news, because we go in with a bad taste to the prayer, and we go in with a negative attitude to Hashem, and chas v'shalom, we should never know. It's not good. Nothing's going to come out of it. Only trouble is going to come out of it. But if we go in with an attitude of, even when it's mussar Hashem, even if we did have a rough day, it was bini. At the end of the day, we're bini b'chori Yisrael. Then we go into Rosh Hashanah with a chance to actually go through Rosh Hashanah in a very successful way, and in a way that we can grow from, and so on. No. But what's our role? What's our role? So our role is like this. It's brought down in the Sefer called Tiferet Shlomo. That's the Ktav Yad Kodsho of the Rebbe Miyadam, Zechat Tzadik Levacha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu, that he writes an interesting thing. We say in the prayers, it's a pasuk in Daniel, Perek Tet Zayin, that the Tet slash Zayin, meaning pasuk Zayin, L'cha Hashem Hatzdaka, V'lanu Boshet HaPanim. You, Borei Olam, you're charitable, you're right in simple English. V'lanu, and to us, we're embarrassed. Lanu Boshet HaPanim. What does the Gemara say about that? Gemara says in Beit Tzalem and Beit Amud Bet, Mi shemitzaper l'shulchan acherim, so olam chashach ba'ado. That's not an exact quote, it's a rough quote. What does that mean? L'aleinu v'la'lechem, we should never know, but if somebody is poor, and he doesn't have money for food, and he's dependent on another person to feed him, to give him food. So olamo chashach ba'ado, what type of life is that? It's the worst situation a person could be in, to the point that Chazal teaches, ani chashuv kimet. Somebody who's poor is considered like he's dead. Manal itzlan. Chazal say that sometimes there's a gzerah on a person that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to take his life, and he does him a favor, he makes him lose a lot of money in business. And like this, he's chashuv kimet, as if he lost his life, and now he could live, he could be healthy. And there are many proofs from this in all different stories that Chazal bring down, of situations that people took different losses, financial losses, and they were sick and they became healthy. And it's not that they were sick and they became healthy and it was coincidence. One was directly linked to another. Hashem decided that the person has to lose something. He could either lose his eyesight by Minan, or instead he lost a few dollars. So Hashem did him a favor, and he took the few dollars, just like by Chuban Beit HaMikdash. Shafach hamato al eitzim v'al avanim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did us a favor, and he spilled out his anger on eitzim v'avanim, on the Beit HaMikdash, instead of on the Jewish nation. And this concept we see in many places. Okay, so that's in Bavli. In Yerushalmi, in Ola, Perik Aleph Halacha Gimel, it says, "Bait leistekule ba'apei man da'achla na'amad dechavrei." What does that mean? If somebody depends on somebody else to support him, he's embarrassed to even look in his face. There's a certain busha in that. The person's embarrassed. Somebody, and he's embarrassed on many fronts. Number one, that he doesn't have, but number two, also that he knows he's dependent on somebody else. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling. That's why in Chazal and Halakha it says clearly that when a person gives poor people money, but to their hand, in a way that it's obvious what's good, you lose most of the mitzvah, because the ani needs the money, and thank God you gave it to him, but at the same time, he had a very big discomfort from it. And that's why we always look in our charitable ventures for disguises to justify why we give people money. So they should think that they're getting money as a salary or as something else, and this that. Really, like this, they accept it comfortably, and they don't feel like charity cases. A common example is, we know that there's a Kollel family that's suffering, and we have to get their money every week so they should have what they need. So what we do is, we go to the husband, and we tell him we have a boy that needs somebody to teach him, and could you teach him 1 hour a week? We'll pay you $200. Like this, he thinks he's working for the money, he got a good job. And in reality, he got the money he needs to be able to support himself. So this idea comes from the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says, if somebody needs somebody else in order to have food, so he's embarrassed to even look at him. That idea, we know the terminology that's used as a result of it. When God created the world, there was an issue called Nahamad de Kisufa. He gives and gives and gives. And now, technically, we should be embarrassed to face God ever, because he's constantly giving us unlimited. Unbelievable. No. If that's the case, so now let's take it a step further. Achei Yosef, the brothers of Yosef, they did terrible things to him. All right, we spoke about it last week. They sold it. So last week we spoke about the part that he went down in a chariot of perfume. This week I want to speak about the end of the story. After everything they did to him, how did he pay them back? He fed them. He gave them everything. He supported them. Everything they had was from him. He gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. What does the pasuk say in Bereshit Perek Nun? That the brothers of Yosef at one point said, "Lu yistameinu Yosef, v'Hashem yashiv lanu ra'a asher gemalatu oto." The simple understanding in the pasuk, if you don't look at Rashi, is we're scared that maybe Yosef's going to hate us because we did only bad to him and he did only good to us. He's going to resent us for it. And nobody wants to be resented, right? That we all understand. Rashi takes this and turns the whole story around in one change of word. He says, don't look at it as Lu Yistameinu Yosef, maybe he's going to hate us. What it really means is Halevai Yistameinu Yosef. We hope that Yosef's going to hate us. Why would Rashi do that? Turn the whole pasuk around like that to such an extreme? So what Rashi's really saying over here, based on what it says there clearly, and also with the addition of what the Mfarshim explain on this Rashi, is that the brothers of Yosef felt so embarrassed of Yosef, knowing that all they did to him was bad, and all he did back to them was good, that they said, Halavai, Yosef should hate us. Because at least if he hates us, we could say that he had his selfish intentions of helping us out, he didn't mean it, is this, is that. But he doesn't hate us, he loves us, all he does is good for us. How can we ever face him? We can't live like this anymore. The Stipler writes an unbelievable thing. Because when a person does a favor for somebody else, not only shouldn't he wait for a thank you, because that's no favor anymore already, that's a business deal, I'll do you a favor so you tell me thank you. But he should say a prayer to God that one day when the person who he helped out throws rocks at him, the rocks should be small enough that he should be able to handle it. And the Stipler explains why. He says, because nobody could ever feel that indebted forever to somebody else. It's against the human nature. So by default, the way around it is what Rashi already says about the brothers of Yosef. Halavai Yistameinu Yosef. It would be a lot easier to just hate us. There should be a fight and goodbye. Like this, we don't have to live with this feeling of indebtedness. No. The Shlag Kadosh and Vavei Amudim brings down what Chazal bring down, but with a more detailed explanation. Listen to the Shlag Kadosh writes. The Shlag Kadosh says on the pasuk in Tehillim, Perek Kuflamed pasuk Gimel, Im avonot tishmo ya, Hashem mi ya'amod. Comes the Shlag Kadosh and says, what does it mean? Im avonot, if the sins tishmo ya, you're going to watch, meaning keep. Hashem mi ya'amod, who's going to be able to stand in front of God? Comes the Shlag Kadosh and says, what goes on is like this. This is not a critical pasuk. This is coming from Midat HaRachamim. The God of mercy comes to Am Yisrael and says, Ima avonot tishmo ya, Ribono shel olam. If you're going to go and hold on to the sins that the Jews did and hold them accountable for it, Hashem Ya'amod is going to be bad news, and therefore what? Let it go. Just let it go. Okay. But Midat Adin comes to God and quotes a different pasuk from Yechezkel Perek Lamed Gimel. And he says, Rasha ba'avono yamut, it says over there in the pasuk. Am Yisrael is Shayim. They don't deserve to live. I can give you a preview, based on what it says in Chazal and the Midrashim, of the way it looks Rosh Hashanah in the morning in the heavenly courts. Hashem is soker the world b'skira achad, is brought down in the Mishnah and the Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah. And then it's Arad that comes to God and says, He gave him life, and look what they did with it. Let's discontinue the contract. They didn't live up to their end of the deal. There's no free rides in this world. It's a two-way deal. They didn't live up to theirs. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu it's a court of judgment. So now there's a problem. What do you do? But he doesn't want to discontinue. So he looks for a way to get around it. And there's all different ways that, like we spoke in the last weeks, through giving tzedakah, other things, that he's able to beat the system. But at the end of the day, what does that mean? That really the contract could have been discontinued. But in reality, it wasn't, because there was some way to plead our way back, in simple English. I'll give you a mashal. It's a tragic mashal, but it's still a mashal. I'm saying it's a true story, but for us it'll be a mashal. I have an acquaintance who called me recently, told me a situation about an employee that's a Jew, but he doesn't work with kids, so every day he's late, and he leaves early, and he's on the phone, and he's this, and he's that, and. He asked me if al pi halacha he's allowed to fire him. I said, yes. Can I let him, this is crazy, he's not an employee. He says, even if he worked 50% of the time, it would be good. He says, I don't think he works even a fraction of that. It's bad news. It's bad news. I told him, I'm not a dayan, let's consult. We made a conference call with a dayan. He said, of course, what do you mean? When you hired him, it was a very clearly defined contract that he's going to work 8 hours a day minus lunchtime. He's not doing that. He voided the contract. You have no commitment to him. Don't fire. You're allowed to fire. Fine. Thank you. The phone hangs up. The next day he calls me back and he tells me, not only didn't I fire him, I gave him a raise. So I told him, listen, I think you're high or something. I don't know what your issue is. So the Dayan and Choshe Mishpat, the Gaon Olam, told you that al pi halacha. So he says, no, the facts changed. I said, what, he suddenly became a good employee? He said, I went to fire him. But he says, you remember what the Dayan said? Before you fire him, find out what's going on in his personal life. He said, and I went and I sat the guy down and I told him, listen, I'm your boss and you're my employee, but now I'm not talking to you like a boss. Now I'm talking to you like a friend. Are you going through something? And he said the guy broke down in the office, and it turns out that Aleinu Lachem, we should never know, his wife has stage 4 cancer. And he's busy running around in hospitals with her day and night to see if there's any hope to save her life. He says, imagine I would have fired him. Imagine I would have fired him. Even though, by the way, even in such a situation, al pi halacha could be you could fire him, because business and charity shouldn't mix. But to him at that point, he's no longer an employee in his mind. Because I didn't give him a raise because he deserves it. I told him straight out. I said, as an employee, it's bad news a little bit. But the time that you do work, you are amazing. So that means it's a matter of time. Hopefully your wife will get better. And you'll be able to go back to yourself. So I don't want to lose you as an employee. Now, in order for you to be here more, you need more help with your wife. And you need to not stress about your medical bills and God knows what else. So I'm not only not going to fire you or lower your salary, I'm going to give you a raise. So now you have more money, so you could hire more help and more other things, and be here more. Try your best to be here more. So he went and turned the tzedakah into the most respectful thing in the world possible. Most respectful thing in the world possible. And if we want to talk about the chesed of people that treat their employees in ways that are above human, I heard a story, I don't remember, I'm going to screw up one detail because I don't remember how the relationship between the medic and the other person is. But one day, I was speaking to somebody on the phone about a certain medical situation they have, and I explained them what, at least in my humble opinion, has to be done. And we ran into a problem, the person doesn't have health insurance. And I said, let's work on it, this is the way we can get you insurance, but now it delays everything and time was working against them. And it was a little bit of a problem. And then I said, wait, but you don't work because you're not feeling well, but your husband works. Maybe we can get insurance through his work. So he said, my husband just got a new job. And it's only after 90 days that you can get, that they have to give you insurance or something like that. I don't know exactly the laws of that, so don't hold me to it. But that's what they told me at least. And therefore, if anybody works in H&R, you can either affirm or deny what I just said. And therefore, it's not 90, we don't have insurance yet. And even it's only insurance for him and not for the family. And for the family, it's going to be a lot of money. We have to see how to pay for it. So to me, it was a very painful conversation because here this is pikuach nefesh, it's not a joke. So I had a plan subconsciously that I'm going to make sure, and I worked on it right away, that they'll have insurance already and they won't know how it's being paid, and have a good day. At least we solved the problem. So I made a phone call to a relative that I wanted to use as my excuse of how they have insurance, that this relative is going to say that through their work they're giving her insurance, whatever. This is what I did. I said, don't worry about the bill, forward it to my fund, and we'll see what we got to do. We'll do what we got to do, don't worry about it. And the relative calls me back the next morning and says, no need, they have insurance. So I said, how'd you get insurance in 24 hours? I never heard such a thing in my life. I said, teach me the tricks. I have people in these situations all the time. I could help others like that. It's not only about money, how do you do it? Listen to what she tells me, a crazy story. She says, this relative that I'm talking about is a sister. She says, my sister last night wasn't feeling well. And they had to call Hatzalah. Hatzalah came. And they checked, they saw that she needs whatever, I don't know exactly, but I think hospital, whatever it is. And one of the things Hatzalah asked to know, based on that, where to take her and what doctors, whatever, is what insurance do you have? And the husband said, I don't have insurance. Obviously, they didn't say a word. Nobody, you can't tell somebody anything in such a situation. And there's emergency Medicaid, there's other things, and there's ways to work around it. They did what they had to do. Look how Hashem runs the world. This guy works for a company that I think is owned by either the brother or the brother-in-law, that's the detail I don't remember, of the medic that came to the house on Hatzalah that night. When he made the drop by the hospital, on his way home, he picked up the phone and called his brother/brother-in-law, whichever one it is, and said, buddy, you have an employee by you, a from family, the wife's not well, and you didn't give him insurance, you're waiting 90 days, are you sick? He said, I didn't know that there's a medical thing there. They said the husband said told his sister-in-law the next morning when he came to work, on his desk was insurance cards for the whole family. I don't know how this boss got it done so quickly to have it done by 9 o'clock in the morning, but somehow he did it. With a note that said, you're not liable for a penny of this, it's 100% the company's bill, and if there's any deductibles involved, please forward us the bills. Not only didn't he get scared and say, what, I just hired a new employee, how am I going to keep him, now he's going to be busy with his wife. He went and said, here you go. When I heard that story, this was a couple weeks ago that people told me the story, and these are people who are indirectly related to me, they're very close to me on many fronts. I was thinking to myself, it was right at the beginning of Slichot time when the story happened, beginning of Elul. I said, on Rosh Hashanah before Tkiyat Shofar, I normally speak, against my will, scary time to speak. I said, well, I'll say it or not, by now not, because I just said it now. But my case to God, every year I look for a case to come to God with. I got to negotiate. What should I do? I'm a negotiator. I say, if a person who's flesh and blood can go to his employee, and at a time that he should be scared that going forward, probably everything's going to go wrong with this guy. Hopefully not. Hashem should help his life should be better right away. Maybe in the schus of this story that'll give us chizuk. But anyway, and say, here, you're insured 100%. all on me. And if you have any deductibles along the way, send them my way too. Instead of telling him, buddy, I'm not taking nonsense, and it's not my fault that your wife's sick. Could be during the year we all did Averot. And could be during the year, it wasn't our Judaism. And could be during the year, a lot of mistakes were made in Klal Yisrael. But you're God, you're not flesh and blood. And if a person who's flesh and blood can go and ensure the future of his employee that he should have gotten rid of, then definitely you, God, can give us an insurance for a good year coming up, even if we don't deserve it. And honestly, I think the whole Klal Yisrael deserves a good year this year just because of this one boss that I don't know, maybe one day I'll get the schus to meet with the guy, because a guy like that's a tzaddik, I want a bracha for it. But that's what does teshuva mean? Teshuva doesn't mean to beat yourself up. I'm such a bad person, I'm this, I'm that, I have no hope, I'm a lost case. It's not teshuva, that's being an idiot. There's nothing good's going to come out of that. Teshuva means, Lecha Hashem Hatzdaka, God, you give and give and give, and I'm embarrassed. It's bad news. At least if I felt I worked for it, no. I don't even do the basics to feel like I worked for it. And just that feeling of busha alone is teshuva, that's it. At that point, a person goes from being a rosha to a tzaddik instantly. By Hashem, if a person feels like that even for 1 second, it's tzaddik gamur. People always talk about Gehenna. So I want to tell you exactly the way Gehenna is going to look like. I'm going to describe it very graphically. No fires. No this, no that. Yeah, Chazal do bring down, the Ramban brings down Esha Gehenna. You have to understand what that means. But I'm giving you a description that we can relate to. Gehenna is going to look like very simple. God's going to show you all the Rosh Hashanahs of your whole life, and how every year you promised in the world and never stuck to it, and how anyway He gave you another year to live, and anyway He loved you, and anyway He gave you even more and more and more. And just that busha, just that embarrassment that you're going to have at that moment, that's Gehenna. With that, it's all over. That's what you. Just like the Rashi says, Luyis Temeinu Achinu, that Yosef's brother said, Halavai, our brother Shehedas, our brother Shehedas, we would say, Halavai, Hashem should do what we think shallowly, throw us in hell. That would be a lot easier than facing that. Hashem gives and gives and gives. And if we look back on what we spoke about the last 2 weeks, so we have such a deep understanding. It not only gives, because Baruch Hu accepts us the entire year exactly the way we are. Ashrei ha'am shekach lo, with the avirot, with everything we do against Him, with our recklessness, and He accepts us and loves us just like that, unconditionally, no questions asked. And then His thank you is another, But instead of 613 beautiful things, we have 613 problems that we look for a way to get around. Moshe Feinstein once told that to a student. I think the Baal Rivot Ephraim, if I'm not mistaken. The young one I'm talking about, not the Kadmon. He told him that some people have 613 exciting things that they look forward to, and other people have 613 obstacles that they have to figure out a way to get rid of their guilt for. That busha is the real teshuva. L'cha Hashem Hatzdaka. How do we know this from Chazal? Maybe I just made it up on the spot. That's my illusions, right? So, first of all, I think I sourced it. But even, I'm going to give you now a bigger source. Bavli, Gemara. If you don't believe in the Gemara, you're apikoros in simple English. Gemara Brachot, if you bet on bet says, Ha'oseh aveira, if somebody did a sin, umitbayesh la, ba, and he's embarrassed that he did it, ochalim lo, miyad, instantly in Shamayim he's forgiven. And here's my biggest limud schus on Klal Yisrael. Is anybody here willing to come to shul, and I invite you to do so if you want to, if you have the guts, Rosh Hashanah in the morning before Tkiyat Shofar and speak instead of me and brag about all the sins you did this year? Come, you're welcome. About 11 o'clock, come to the minyan, get up, stand, brag. Hashem said to eat kosher, I didn't eat kosher this year. Hashem said to do this, I didn't do it. Heck with it, I don't care. Nobody, even somebody who's as far as could be and would be at gunpoint would die before he would do such a thing. Even these liberal, left-wing, whatever, with all their crazy, even them, there's nobody would do such a thing. I used this example last night. I met But it's a long story, but the punchline is I met one of the most famous doctors alive today who has many accomplishments in medicine. And he's a Jew. And he's a conservative Jew. And he has a daughter that became Orthodox. And she happens to live in Jersey, not in Lakewood, but in Jersey. And he's very traumatized by it. Some people are traumatized, their kids are heroin addicts. He's traumatized that his daughter became frum. Halevai and everybody such problems, right? Halevai. So he was speaking to me and he was really spilling out his heart to me. He said, I can't even go to my daughter's house. So I said, why can't you go to your daughter's house? He said, because I like fried calamari. I don't know what the heck that is, but it doesn't sound good, that's for sure. I don't know what that is. I like fried squid. I don't know what squid is either, thank God. I don't think, for some reason I have a feeling I'm not missing much. But, and my daughter says that I can't even bring it into the house. She says, I'm addicted to it. So I said, so you're an addict and now you're I said, explain me what's going on over here. Explain me. So he tells me what? It's being fanatic, it's being extreme, it's being old-fashioned, it's being this. He used all different stories and terms and whatever. I tell him, Doctor, I agree with you. But I only agree with you if you believe what you said. But I suspect that you don't believe what you said. So he says, what do you mean? What do you think I'm wasting my time with you? We're intelligent people having an intelligent discussion. I said, let's test the honesty behind the intelligence. He says, sure, how do you want to test it? He says, you want to go for calamari right now? Let's go. I said, no, it's okay, I ate already, I'm okay. So he says, how do you want to test it? I said, you're invited to come to Queens for Rosh Hashanah. You don't have to stay there, you could drive, do whatever you want, I'm not minding your business. And come give the speech before Tkiyat Shofar in my synagogue. And I want you to get up and talk about how traumatic it is to disrespect your father by not letting him bring fried calamari into your house. And teach my boys and girls ethics, that they shouldn't be that way. Because fried calamari is more important than God. Come, you have an open invitation. I said, and you could check about me. I'm going to let you do it. This is not lip service. Not only that, I'll stand near you and hold your hand as well. He says, what are you, crazy? I said, what do you mean? What's wrong? He said, why would I do that? I said, you're saying it's so unethical and you're so traumatized by it. So you'll do prevention for the youth. I have a youth minion. They shouldn't be disrespectful. You'll be helping so many young kids. And without realizing what he's saying, out of frustration, he tells me, I'm not stupid. I know it's not kosher. I said, wait, so you're not stupid, but your daughter's a bad girl. How did those two go together? And some people with a high level of intellect, believe it or not, are very honest. God looked at me in the face and told me, you just killed me. I said, if I just killed you, I'll do Tchiyat HaMetim for you now also. I said, the Gemara says stories, Eliyahu Hanavi did Tchiyat HaMetim. I said, I also know how to do Tchiyat HaMetim. He said, what? I said, pick up the phone, call your daughter, and say, I'm sorry. Because you're fighting with her for 2 years over what you yourself don't believe. If you believed it, it's okay, you're fighting with her because that's what you believe. But you yourself don't believe it. She deserves an apology. And the guy in front of my face picked up the daughter and called his daughter and said, the daughter thought it was a prank. She said, Dad, it's not April's Fool's Day. That's what she told me. And I think he did Tshuva Shlema. Wow. Tshuva Shlema, I think he did. I think he turned his life around. Hazir and the calamaris, I don't know. They might have lost a good customer because he's a wealthy doctor. But it's, excuse me, it's an amazing thing. An Adam Gadol. That's called Yesh Konei Olamo B'Sha'ah Achat. How many people that have the right to be big shots because of their accomplishments in medicine? There are thousands and thousands of doctors that read their articles and what they have to say, and you know, everything they say is Kodesh Kodashim. Are going to sit with a young yeshiva boy in an office and turn their life around like that. Make a phone call. How embarrassing that is in front of somebody. Yeah. The Gemara says, "Al-se avera u'mitbayesh ba." Excuse me. Mochalim lo kol avonotav. And Rabotai, I have good news for you. There ain't no Jew that's coming into Shul Rosh Hashanah in the morning to say, I'm proud of the sins I did this year. That means every Jew is embarrassed of the sins he does. During the year, sometimes not so much, because that's why I always say, where's my case that you should close your Facebook and Instagram and this and Twitter and all the other garbage at once? Package deal, just shut them all down. Besides, you're wasting your time and life and exposing yourself to poison that'll destroy you and your kids and your marriage and everything else good. Besides, for all those reasons. If you went to a place that's not a place that's right up Yalacha, and you post it on Instagram, Hashem's going to come after you for it. Because now you're not mitbayesh ba, you're proud of it. If you didn't post it, that means you were embarrassed to post it. If you're embarrassed to post it, they forgave you for it. Just for that alone, it's worth shutting everything down. Just for that. I'm not talking about for business reasons and that, obviously that's different. But, people that use these things for personal reasons. So, every Jew, and we want to think so, even if there are maybe some that aren't, but I don't think there are. At the end of the day, is an oseh avera u'mitbayesh ba. So we come to the Rebbeinu Shalom before Shana and we say, Mochalim no kol avanotav. God, you have to forgive us. God, you have to forgive us. Because that much we have busha. And the more you feel Hashem loves you, the more embarrassed you are of it. Or the more uncomfortable you feel about it. If you had a fight with somebody who you don't know, so it's not nice, it's not that, but a day later you'll forget it ever happened. But if you had a fight with your best friend, it's going to eat you up alive at night. You won't be able to fall asleep that night. So what's real teshuva? Real teshuva means, in the secular Israeli world, when a person was a yeshiva boy and became something else, so they call it chozrim b'sheila. This is what they call it, chozrim b'sheila. That comes from such intellectual ignorance, it's unbelievable. Why? Where'd they get the idea from, chozrim b'sheila? Because somebody who wasn't Shomer Torah something became, they call it chozel b'tshuva. So tshuva, one of the translations of the words in their mind at least is an answer. So if I went the other way, so ani chazalti b'sheila, I have a question. Nobody today is smart enough to have any questions on the Torah. It's nonsense. We have Yitzhahara, that's where it starts and ends. And they got it all wrong. Tshuva doesn't mean an answer. God doesn't give answers to nobody. Hashem doesn't have to answer up to anybody. Tshuva means lashuv, to return. So chozrim b'sheila would mean barachti, I ran away. But that, even they don't feel comfortable to say about themselves. So they had to go and distort the way the words are just to say. So even that is oseh avera u'mitbayesh ba. And it's a Gemara, it's a Bavli. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is committed to sticking to what the Torah Kedusha says, what Chazal said. The more you feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you, the bigger the busha is, the less the avera is. The less you feel Hashem loves you, if you feel Hashem's your enemy who's holding a sledgehammer ready to kill you, then the less you care. If you had a fight with your enemy, you're proud of it almost. So the whole yesod of tshuva is for a person to feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is his best friend. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is his father. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves him unconditionally. And when he feels that, then he has a chance to do tshuva. But as long as he views Hashem as some sort of entity that's out to get him, or that's angry at him for all his sins, then his tshuva is fake. It's not real. It's like if you try, right, the Rambam had, I think it was the Rambam, they say it over either the Rambam or the Ramban, they say different names, the story. Maybe it happened to all of them, maybe to none of them, but as a parable, it's definitely good. They had an argument if you can train a cat or not. You train a cat to do things like a human. So the way the story goes, again, if it didn't happen, so it's a good parable. But the Rambam said it's impossible. An animal's an animal. He doesn't have seichel. And other people, the animal lovers there, said, yeah, we could make a... So he said, what do you want to do? And this was an argument in front of the king in Egypt. So he said they're going to get a cat, and after 6 months, he's going to be trained to be a waiter. They're going to put him on a bow tie, and he's going to come with a tray, and he's going to bring food. The king warned the Rambam. He says, you really sure you can't do this? He says, impossible to do it. And he said, you could do it. The king says, by me there's no mistakes. If you prove wrong, you're dead. You're a dead duck. My doctor, not my doctor, doesn't make a difference. He says, let him do it. They went, they trained the cat. Sure enough, they make a big seudah, and the cat comes in, bow tie, tray and all. White glove service. And everybody was looking at the Rambam knowing it's bad news for him now. The Rambam took out of his pocket a little box, and inside the box he had tobacco, but on top of the tobacco, he put in before, he prepared a mice. And he let out a mice. And the cat dropped the tray and the bow tie and the gloves and everything and went running to chase the mice, and that was the end of it. And the Rambam looked at him and said, you could force somebody to play that he's not, an animal to play that he's not what he is. But an animal stays an animal. When a person goes to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur with this phobia of that we're all dropping dead and the world's coming to an end, so we force the person to go against his nature, whatever. I don't think it's going to hold beyond, let's say, Kippur. I wish it would hold even till then. But if a person goes into Rosh Hashanah Kippur saying, God loves me, with everything that I do, and with all my mistakes, and with all my flaws, He just loves me the way I am. And the least I could do is just realize that. And automatically, when somebody loves you, you end up loving them back. At that point, it's a game changer. Everything's different already. It's a complete game changer. Everything's completely different. I think there's a much healthier approach to go into Rosh Hashanah Kippur, and it's a big chizuk, besides the fact that it also gives us all hope. And it's a big, and maybe we could even add on another pshat that'll fit this theme very good, and we ran out of time, so with this we'll have to end. In Tehillim Tzadik Tet, it says, Mishpat u'tzedakah biYaakov ata asita. Hashem did judgment and charitable acts to the Jewish nation. Maybe based on this we could say a new pshat, a chidush. I'm sure it says in the Sfarim HaKadoshim. I'm not sure exactly the way they bring it down, but I'm giving a watered down version. Mishpat, the Kodesh Baruch Hu is right, the Melech that's Yoshev al Kisei Mishpat. He sits on the chair of judgment on Rosh Hashanah, he judges. What's the judgment? Tzedakah biYaakov ata asita. But because he was so nice to all of us, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu loves us so much, that is the judgment. That's it. This God just comes to you and says, hey, this is what I was willing to give you. Are you willing to reciprocate? A little bit at least? Are you willing to say thank you once in a while? Are you willing to smile once in a while? Just something. Anything? You willing to do it? And then he comes to you and throws you even a bigger curveball. And if you're not willing to do it, no problem. I'll still give you anyway. There's no bigger mussar than that. That's it. It's a knockout punch. You can't hate somebody that loves you. It just doesn't work. And that's a big limud zchut on Klal Yisrael. B, it's a big chizuk. C, it's understanding teshuva in its real way. It's understanding teshuva in its real way. You know what I lied. We'll say one more story. It just came to mind. Story everybody's willing to stay for. A bunch of years ago, I don't remember exactly the year, so you'll forgive me. I was working a little bit during election season in Israel in a political job, as a political consultant in Israel. Not an industry that you want to go into, trust me. It's as dirty as could be. Fights and this, and terrible. So one of the things that went on, part of my job was that there were certain public debates in universities between people that represent different parties. And I was representing the Shas party in these debates, Avadi's party. And I used to go and they would attack, officially there's a moderator and there's rules to the questions and this and that. In reality, Israelis don't go by rules. In case, I don't even want to say that Shiksa's name in a shul, but if you want, look on YouTube who spoke in Israel this week and stormed off the stage because they started asking her the truth about her life. We'll leave it at that. But in her contract it said clearly they can't ask her anything on the subject and so on. But over there's no rules. Officially, they give you a whole thing. These questions have to be submitted in advance and so on. Nonsense. So I was in one of the universities in Israel, in one of these public debates before the elections representing Shas. And there was a guy who I met in the hallway before we went in, and he told me that he's representing a party called Meretz. Meretz is a party that has one and only one agenda: to hate Jews and love Arabs. They're crazy, not even all the members of the party are Jewish, by the way. But the Jewish ones, Hashem Shalom, but the other ones are really, they have Arabs in their party. Anything anti-normal, that's their mission. Not only Yiddishkeit, even in general, just crazy. Like they took liberal to a whole new level. And all in the name of justice and being advanced and democracy. Of course, they find fancy words to justify all their nonsense. So he introduces himself to me. And in Hebrew, this is the words he tells me. I'm going to try and translate it roughly, more or less. He says, ata korban shani olech le'echol chai halayla? You're the sacrifice that I'm going to eat live tonight on stage? This is what he tells me. This is before we walk into the stage. Hashem gave me, it's against my nature. Normally I stay quiet, say what you want. You know, I don't stoop to that level. But I guess sometimes you need azut kedusha. You have to be able to. I looked at him and said, he looked young. I was also very young. I'm still young. I plan on being young forever. I looked at him and I said, listen, buddy, I don't know if you know what that stage looks like, but there's a big audience, over 1,000 people. There's lights, there's video cameras. Part of this is going to be broadcasted live, and you may be strong now, but in front of lights and cameras and an audience, most people that I know get stage fright. And as smart as they think they are and as prepared as they think they're coming, they need teleprompters because it doesn't work otherwise. And one of the deals on this debate are there is no teleprompters. I said, but I got news for you, my friend. I have a sickness. I'm addicted to lights and to cameras and to crowds. And when I'm going to get onto that stage, now you see me, this little weak, quiet guy, it's going to be like Tchiyat HaMeitim. Suddenly I come to life. So you may want to protect yourself and not make a fool out of yourself. He laughed at me to my face, called me a few names that we can't repeat over here, and we went on the stage 2 minutes later. It wasn't only us two. There were other parties also. Most of it was Israeli politics, nonsense, whatever. But none of that was working for them. So then it got personal. Why the yeshiva boys this, and yeshiva boys that, and this. I ripped them apart. Hashem gave me the right words. There wasn't one. I had to D'Shmaya. It wasn't me. Hashem gave me everything as a gift. He said, why did one person in the Shas party, Ki'ilu, steal 60,000 shekel? That's what he claimed. Never happened, but it's a separate story. I told him, you have a very valid question. But before I answer you, I just want to go through how many percentage of Shas voters are in jail and how many percentage of Meretz voters are in prison. And then we'll continue. He understood that he just dug himself a grave right there alone. And why don't the from people pay taxes? I said, first of all, we pay more tax than all of you guys combined, but besides for that fact, it's very simple. Taxes is for services. We don't need police departments. We don't need prisons. We don't need all these things. So we should pay. So just the opposite. We give charity to support your causes. I said, our people stay out of trouble. And like this, piece after piece after piece. Shredded him to pieces. To the point that the crowd there, that none of them were Talmidei Yeshiva exactly. And one of my lines that I said, they had 1,000, 1,100 students get up on their feet and cheer for like 2 minutes. That I felt was wrong, by the way. It was embarrassing already, and I tried to get them to stop. Kids to the guy realized that, yeah, without a teleprompter, it's a little hard. It's not, you have to know the stage life. It was over. It was a panel of 5 students that were judges. Kids, yeah, the Shas party wins. Very good. I got a bonus, by the way, so it was great. I'm honest, hey. Yeah, I was getting paid, and I got a bonus for that. Unbelievable. I left the place to go to my car, innocently to go back to my hotel. Tomorrow's another day of work. It's still a few days to the election. And I'm about to open the door of the car, and this guy's standing right behind me. Now, by me, it could be chashuda letzicha, who knows? I said, it is what it is. As you guys see, I don't have 6-packs. I don't know how to fight. That's not my style. So, whatever. So I turn around to him. I said, you lost something? You need something? And he literally spits at me. And he tells me, Ani sonel otcha. I hate you. I hate you. I guess he was so angry and frustrated from what just happened. That was his way of venting it. It's the only time in my life somebody spat at me. Physically, at least. Okay. I was in a little state of shock. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not used to that. Even in the Bronx, that doesn't happen normally. But again, Hashem gave me an instinct. I had already turned around towards him. I looked him straight in the eye, put out my arms, gave him a huge hug, and I said, "Va'ani ohev otcha," and I love you. He was shocked a little bit. He didn't know how to handle that. And he tells me, "I need to know something." I said, "Sure, what do you need to know?" He said, "Where's the strength from?" I said, "What strength?" He said, "I sat on the stage and called you and your community, robbers, molesters, fighters, people that parasites, people that don't go to the military. Every name in the book I threw at you. And not only didn't you get personal, you piece by piece took me apart to the point that I don't know what to say next. And now I come to fight with you and instead I get a hug. Is everything okay? Like, what do you take? I also want those goods. That's some good stuff you're on." I said, "I'll tell you, I have an unbelievable drug. And it really does wonders. And I take it 6 days a week. And it's called tefillin. Some people inject heroin. I inject just without putting it in. I put it on top. But the message I put inside. And the message that it says in there is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. God is one. And what does that mean, God is one? That you're my brother. Because if he's our father, so we're brothers. Now you may not be aware of that. So therefore, to you, we're fighting. But to me, if I'm a brother, I don't fight with my brothers. By me, family is a very sacred thing. So we never had a fight. It's that simple. I said, when I told you I love you, I wasn't lying. I wasn't playing lip service. This wasn't a way to get you shocked. That's the truth. I said, and if you cared enough to come spit at me, it must be that you love me a whole lot too. Because the opposite of love is hate. So if you can get to such a point, must be that deep down, somewhere inside of you, you love me a whole lot too. He exchanged phone numbers with me. We were in touch for a while. Today, the guy is a regular Shomer Torah mitzvot. Halavai Amit to one day get to those levels. That was nets every morning. My Shmoneh Esrei on Kippur is not his Shmoneh Esrei on a regular morning. It's unreal. His whole life from one side to the other turned around to such an extreme. And it was just from identifying one thing, that a human loves him. Now imagine we identify that Hashem loves us, how our life changes. Everything in life changes. Total game changer. And that's my bracha to everybody. Hashem should help that both to the kahal and to the viewers and listeners and everything, that we should live a year that every second of the day we feel Hashem's great love, and then obviously we'll be the greatest baalei teshuva, and we'll have both teshuva that will come back to God, and teshuva answers to all our questions, and we'll be happy, healthy, and have a successful year. Techle shana v'kilotea, techel shana v'bilkotea, be'ez Hashem, all the best. Again, Motzei Shabbat, we'll send out a schedule tomorrow, Motzei Shabbat 11:30.